I was in a missile capsule in Nebraska. Normal alert, everything was going normal. And I was asleep in the bunk, and my deputy was manning the console, and suddenly I heard the curtain open with a great amount of exuberance, and he said, "Get up, you have to copy this message." And I said, "Bruce, just copy the message, and then I will, we'll take it from there." And he said, "No, you need to get up and copy this message." So I did. I got up and I copied the message, and it was a preparatory message. You never get preparatory messages in the field because we never preparatory to go on to launch missiles in the field. It's only in a trainer. So this was an unusual event to have it occur. So I copied the message. We confirmed each other's message as being valid, and proceeded to go on to standby alert. There was some idle chatter amongst the two of us about what could be happening. My deputy wanted to know if he could call his wife, and I said, I guess you can. What is it you'd like to tell her? And you want to tell her to duck, or whatever you want to tell her. But I said there's not really anything that she can do that's going to help anybody. That message was followed up by a second message that indicated that there was a possibility that the first message may not be correct. And we eventually received a stand down message from SAC. SAC? I can't remember what command it was. But a stand down order that said, put everything back the way it was and don't mess with it. Now, we in the field are not privy to what's going on in the rest of the world, and had no idea what had just happened. We knew that none of us that in the field at the time had ever received a preparatory message in the field, and that it scared the shit out of us. And it was a topic of conversation on the way home from the capsule. And after we got home, we heard stories. The main story being that the computer system in NORAD had picked up a multiple launch indication from the Soviet Union of 20, I think it was 20 incoming ICBMs, and the target was theoretically Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. And that is what had set off the alarm and triggered the alert. Fortunately, the system was able to accommodate this information. It was able to call us off alert in time before anything happened, because once you turn keys, you've turned keys. And then all you got to worry about is where's the next war going to be. So it was a very serious situation, and it was very, I don't know what the right word would be for those of us that were involved in it. It was scary. Fortunately, we didn't turn keys. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we didn't have to. And fortunately, the incident was a bogus deal. So,
had you gotten out the keys?
No. No, we never got that far. Mm-hmm. Once you get out the keys, excuse me, you have another problem in the fact that once you insert the keys, you can't take them out. Mm-hmm. And it takes an awful lot of missiles off alert, because if you're not going to launch them, now you've got a key stuck in the keypad, and you can't do much with it. So they're very, very, very careful, number one, about starting a nuclear war, and number two, about any downgrade in the equipment or in the capability. So no, at the time we did not get anything that said to open the safe and take the keys out.
Did you and your assistant have any discussion about what you would do if you actually did get that order to pull out the keys?
As a matter of fact, the funniest things go through your mind, even with what we got, because understand that it was totally unheard of to receive this type of a message in the field. It just didn't happen. So to get this message in itself was a major event. And my deputy and I had a couple of conversations about important things like I was sitting in my chair in my underwear, and it suddenly became very important to me that I not be found as a nuclear launch officer sitting in my chair in my underwear. So I got up and put on my 38 and sat back down in my chair in my underwear. Now that's how your mind is working. You know, I say if they find me here, I want them to find me combat ready. So those are the kinds of silly things that go through your mind. And again, like my deputy said, he said, I want to call my wife. And I said, I don't know what you're going to tell her. You know, she can't get far enough away. And why don't you just let her go in peace? And those are the kind of conversations we had at the time, and the fact that what was happening to us couldn't happen because we knew the training that went into our job, and it was just virtually impossible. So I remember those two particular instances. I couldn't imagine what I would look like sitting there in my underwear with my 38 on. But I was ready to protect. And I turned to my deputy and I said, he had an ashen look on his face. And I said, Bruce, are you going to turn keys? Because that was always a question that all of us in the missile business had, was if push came to shove, would you actually turn keys? And we were asked more than one time to make that commitment in writing that we would, if required, turn keys. And I said, are you going to turn keys if we have to? Or am I going to have to shoot you? And he said, no, I'm going to turn keys. And I said, good. That settles that. All we got to do now is wait. And that's what we did. We waited.
You weren't the only silo that had this issue
No,
going.
this was wing. Well, there's actually, I don't know exactly how wide it was. It was wing wide. I know that. Everybody in the wing received the message. And, nobody really talked about it. And I can't remember that they ever said don't talk about it. But I don't remember any discussion about it or anything when I got back to the base.
You keep in touch with Bruce at all?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I talk to him every couple of months. He retired as a lieutenant colonel. When I was stationed with him, he was a first lieutenant, and I was a captain. And he was prior service, so he was not a youngster. And we had been crewed together about 6-8 months, and which is pretty long for a missile crew, actually. And I don't know about Bruce, but we still talk about this particular instance, and just to laugh about it and to be thankful that it was a mistake and that we caught the mistake. We didn't, but the government did.
Well, as you watch what's going on in contemporary times now with North Korea and the statements out of Washington and North Korea as well, do you have any, does this bring back anything to you?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where I want to go with this conversation, but we are in a very vulnerable situation with the North Koreans. And I'm not an expert on those kinds of things, and there are people that are. But if you have instability anywhere in either chain of command, then you have a problem. Because everybody has to be thinking, and everybody has to be on the same page. And so far, that has worked. I don't know if I would swear today that it could continue to work. I'm quite nervous myself. And again, I'm no expert, but I'm quite concerned with where we are in the world situation today, and with what could happen with these missiles.
Well, as a guy who was in the silo with the keys in the safe, you have a certain sympathy, I'm sure, with the people still on active duty who might have to make similar decisions today.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that it has happened since. Now, I don't know that that's true. That's because I've been out of the service a long time. Yeah. I know the missile business has had some other problems recently, problems that I just cannot associate with. I don't understand the problems that would lead to the situations that have been discovered. None of the things that I've heard about, as far as I know, ever happened when I was on active duty and when I was in the missile field. It just wouldn't have happened. Nobody would have done that. But I guess I worry about our troops. I worry about their troops. I worry about the people that have their finger on the gun. So I worry about it.